I wanted to circle back to something you briefly touched on at the beginning, and that is your faith. How does Dr. Natalie's faith play a role in her personal life, maybe? And how can others who may be struggling with their faith use that as a tool to help balance life?
Well, that is my biggest tool. That is Dr. Natalie, and um it is my biggest tool to do the things we've talked about today, because I I work to be grounded in my faith, which is beyond these worldly experiences. It's beyond these external validations, because for me, my faith tells me um, I don't have to work hard to achieve, to mean that I'm valuable. I'm already valuable.
Mm,
I'm already loved. I'm already anchored in truth. And so um I can be still and know that I'm okay, and it's gonna be okay. And that doesn't mean I don't get stressed and I don't get afraid and I don't check out on my phone sometimes.
yeah.
I don't make mistakes or yell at my kids about something. At the end of the day, I can come back to my truth that says, I'm held, I'm safe, I'm loved, I'm valuable, and I'm here to serve others in the kindest, most compassionate way that I can. And if I do that and I stay true to that, it's all going to be okay.
Well,
And
I can attest to seeing you live in a way in your leadership exactly like you described it. I see your faith shining through your leadership without you ever saying anything about what you believe in. It's just, it exudes through you. And I appreciate being in view of how you show up.
thank you so much. And it's just it can be a sticky situation, right? It's a workplace, and I want to be respectful of everyone's, experience. I must.
Mhm.
I'm called to be respectful
Yeah.
of the experience. And so it's not about touting, it is about doing. And it's the same thing we talked about, right? It's again, we can say all we want, but we have to model. We have to
Yes.
behave in a way that tells the story more than what the narrative says. And so I do try to live my life that way, and I want to be of service and be kind and be smart and be compassionate and stay grounded. And the relationships that I have and the people that I work with, like you, and the therapists and the folks that are doing the direct care and service,
Yeah.
really matter to me.
Oh, I think we know.
You
Yeah.
matter to me. And so I want to serve in that capacity. And I hope that whatever I can bring to the table helps you really serve those that are coming to you for need. And so that supportive, relational type of leadership style is what I'm built for.
Yeah.
And it may be different
I believe it.
than others, but it is what I'm built for. And I'm okay with that.
As you should be. And, I'm taking away from this some ground rules. One thing you remind me of is how powerful affirmations are, because as you're just attesting to what keeps you grounded, I'm just hearing affirmation after affirmation. And I think that's another tool people should really invest in using is to how you speak to yourself, what you think about yourself and what you believe about yourself. So for ground rules, I wrote here, I'm already valuable. I'm already loved. I'm already, and it's just accepting who you are, but affirming that and knowing this is who I am and not attaching it to disorder, disease, addiction. Yes, people sometimes say my addiction, my disease, but I think we really need to separate and say, the addiction, the disease,
For sure.
to give yourself that autonomy back, to know that you are already all those things you just listed out. And the mindset is where it all starts. Yeah.
Does. And I think there's a very powerful tool that I like to share with folks. And I look at us from a Gestalt perspective, and I try to understand the underdeveloped parts of self and the
Mhm.
overdeveloped parts of self. And sometimes when we get lost, right, in addiction, or even when we're on that fence, right, and we're starting to get outside of that balanced life that we talked about, it's that part of ourself is getting kind of bigger and louder and more
Yeah.
dominant. And we really need the other parts of ourself to settle that side down. And you have ownership. You can say, knock it off. You can say you're getting,
Yeah.
name it, whatever, addiction, whatever, you can name it. And that way you have more choice over it. And you could say, no, you're getting out of line, get in the back seat, be quiet, and whatever that part is, if that's shaming yourself or
Mhm.
being critical or saying you got to chase those losses, you're not valuable if you don't do X, Y, and Z, or whatever it is, whatever those narratives are, there's the other part that has to show up in the room and
Mhm.
say those things. No, 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 no. Shh. You're getting too quiet. You're getting too loud. Shh.
Yeah.
You are already loved. You're already worthy. You don't have
Yes.
to chase that nonsense. Focus on what the truth is.
Mhm.
And when you have faith, you have a different understanding of truth,
Right.
right? You have a different understanding of truth.
Yeah.
And frankly, the battle's already won for you. So you can breathe. You can breathe.
Yes.
That part of yourself has to stay kind of large and in charge to quiet
Absolutely.
the other parts that can get the best of us. It's human
You're so right.
nature. It's how we're made. But we have I think more control over it than sometimes we think we do. And if we can manage it before we get to the point of addiction, which is
Yes.
the goal, right? We can level set and we can get back on track.
100%. You're so right because that's exactly in terms of coaching people through this.
Mhm.
It's our job to remind them of where the autonomy is, where who's driving, who's in control, and making their voice bigger than the voice in their head that's telling them those things. So I could not agree with you more. Yeah.
So I think there's I don't want to minimize addiction to, well, you can just choose, just say no to
Right.
drugs. It has to be paired with truly, I believe, um, a settling down of your nervous system, a rewiring of those dopamine pathways that the
Yes.
reward is really, you have to restructure. And the brain can do it. The brain is
Yes.
amazing. It's pliable. It creates new pathways, but we have to learn it goes back to those mindful exercises, that
Hmm.
intentionality to settle our nervous system and teach our nervous system to be okay without the stimulation, without the chaos, to say, I'm kind of bored right now, but it's kind of cool.
Yeah.
Right? I got nothing going on. How lovely. Let me go just sit outside or pet my dog, whatever.
Yes. Let me do the simple things that I never get to do.
Yeah, yeah. And the more you do it, the more you crave that
Hmm.
peace, like the peace,
Yeah.
the quiet. And that's your nervous system settling down and reshaping and regrouping. And we have to give it opportunities to do that.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I don't think we're as equipped to do the other strategies of like being more in control of our lives, because it's our nervous system is driving us, anxiety, depression, chasing, running, revving, eating poorly, all the things we do to self-soothe that are less helpful. So we have to train our nervous system and pair all of that stuff physiologically, psychologically, behaviorally, and frankly
Mhm.
spiritually, to
Yes.
really regroup, and settle in, and just have, the goal isn't happiness for me. The goal is to be content and know the truth in all the worldly chaos.
Oh my gosh, you said a mouthful because yeah, everyone's dealing with so many different things layered on top of or beneath addiction. So it's like there's all this and then there's this. It's a lot. It can feel like a lot for
It,
people, but I love how you kind of mapped out. these are things, and they're simple things. They sound so simple. I think a lot of people think about them and they're saying that could never work because they haven't tried. But as soon as people engage with everything you just listed, that's where they find recovery. I feel like I'm finally in recovery now. Oh my gosh, my journey's just starting now because we're facilitating them to do exactly the things you just laid out.
And if it can be broken down into that inside, outside, and beyond, and like that overlapping of the three circles, that center
Yeah.
part, and
Uh-huh.
that balance, the pieces can. I must instill hope. The pieces can come together,
Yes.
and things can change, and your brain can adjust, and your habits and behaviors can change, and you can find that sweet spot. And then you work really hard to try to stay in that sweet spot.
Mhm.
So
That becomes life. It's a lifestyle. It's
I
a lifestyle. I tell everyone in recovery, this is not a goal. You'll never achieve the goal of being free from this. It's you're surrounded by it.
Mhm.
It is a lifestyle. You have to agree to say, I'm going to live a lifestyle where I'm constantly putting in the right boundaries and choosing differently and practicing the things that keep me balanced.
Mhm. And that, going back to the youth, and is really the freedom that we want our children and youth to inherit. That's the legacy
Oh my gosh.
that we want to
So
pass,
true.
right? That
Yes.
we are solid ground, not perfect, not we're imperfect, we're flawed, but we can repair, we can say when we're wrong, we can fail forward, we can lean into adversity, we can learn, we can settle. And when we can model that and our children see that, they really inherit life lessons in school, lessons and skills, but they really inherit, I think, freedom, freedom
Yes.
to be and choose in um, a more integrated,
Mhm.
self-valued life experience in person. And that's what I
Absolutely.
want to pass on to my children, right?
I love it
Is it
because the prison you can have a prison right here when you're carrying an addiction,
a
you know?
thousand
So
percent?
that
It is.
freedom is yeah. Well, Dr. Natalie, it's been a pleasure to have you here today. You've added so much insight and value to the call, and I am curious if you have a way that you would like people to get in touch with you if they would like to connect.
Well, I'd like to echo that. Coach Corinne, you're fantastic. It's so enjoyable talking with you, and you really open up the channels of communication in such an amazing, um, compassionate way. So thank you for having me today.
Thank
And
you.
if people need support and people are struggling at any point in their journey, they can reach out to kindbridge.com and they can speak with somebody pretty quickly and learn what it is that they need, whether it's therapy services or coaching services or groups or resources. So really at any point where they are in their journey, we're here to serve and help without shame and with compassion. And really, as the chief clinical officer at the organization, the importance of meeting the client where they are, identifying that the client is the owner of their journey, right? You own your experience. Sure, we're here to help you, but you're the expert in your own life. This is your journey. And so attuning with the client, meeting them where they're at, and really saying, how do we come alongside you and with you to support your recovery journey? And so
Yes.
seek us out at kindbridge.com.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.